I believe that this country has enormous potential if we have the guts to take on the big money interests who dominate our economic and political life. And I disagree in the belief that you can get money from Wall Street, that you can get money for a super PAC from powerful special interests, and then at the end of the day, do what has to be done for the working families of this country. I just don't accept that. What I believe is that this country, if we stand together and not let the Trumps of the world divide us up, can guarantee health care to all people as a right, can have paid family and medical leave, can make public colleges and universities tuition-free, can lead the world in transforming our energy system and combating climate change, can break up the large financial institutions, can demand that the wealthiest people in this country start paying their fair share of taxes. And we can do that when millions of people stand up, fight back, and create a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%. That is what the political revolution is about. That is what this campaign is about.
Just incredible. Bernie Sanders last night in New York City.
Bernie Sanders with a big upset victory.
He is sparking a different kind of discussion in this country.
I mean, he's done an amazing job of activating that, particularly among younger people.
And their impact is so significant because so many of these 18 to 26-year-olds are choosing Sanders and they're voting, which also doesn't often happen.
Why do they like Bernie so much?
You want to tell me why?
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 Why do so many young people want to elect a socialist?
There's something very different and very honest, at least personally, that I feel that Senator Sanders has. His opinions aren't necessarily the opinions of politicians. He's stuck by his values for about 40, 50 years now. He marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. He worked for same-sex marriage rights in the 70s and 80s. And I think for a very technically connected generation, I think that means a lot to see a not the run-of-the-mill politician. In a lot of ways, the internet has allowed more transparency, allowed for candidates to be held to what they're saying and their track records. And I think it's a really strong showing that we know the truth because we have access to more information.
Honestly, if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't even know who Bernie Sanders was before he decided to run. And even then, like my roommate, this is like maybe a few months ago, he saw I had like a Bernie thing and he was like, I don't even know who Bernie Sanders is. So.
I think that's absolutely huge. Like the video of Bernie getting arrested back in the 60s. You wouldn't have ever found that 10 years ago on the internet. I mean, unless you did some really, really hard searching, you went some really shady websites or whatever. But the fact that like CNN covered that, even Fox News probably had something about that. I think that really helped the cause about in raising the fact that Bernie has been consistent for over 50 years.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
54 years ago, you were in the front lines of trying to desegregate school housing at the University of Chicago. You were even arrested.
Don't tell anybody that.
What was it that motivated a 20-year-old white kid from Brooklyn to do that?
You know, like in any school, you see big kids picking on little kids, you know? And I resented that. I always did. You know, as far back as I can remember, and Anderson, I can't tell you why, but injustice is something that I have always fought throughout my life.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm a volunteer with the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign.
I was calling on behalf of the Bernie Sanders campaign.
The goal of phone banking is knowing who's going out, if you can count on them to have your candidate's support, if they can tell anybody else as well about your candidate. You could say that a lot of millennials were interested maybe in like that free tuition thing or more paid off public education, but that didn't really do it for me. That was never it initially. And really it starts at the top with campaign finance reform and getting the interest groups out, because it's not comfortable for me to think that every policy, every politician, what they're saying, their words, that resonating in the back of their mind, what's echoing are the words of these lobbying groups, the people that are funding them.
So Citizens United really grew out of the 2008 presidential race. The court at that time ruled that a corporation had the right of freedom of speech in order to support a candidate. So you see a evolving application of the Bill of Rights to corporations. The corporations fundamentally have more wealth than just one or two people. Then they become able to form super PACs with corporate pooled money and try to get them elected. The candidate that spends the most money ends up actually winning the office because it's more about face recognition, name recognition, and the more ads you have, the more airtime you can get, the better chance you have to be elected. So these candidates who are backed by corporations that are allowed by Citizens United end up being, in a way, beholden to that corporate interest. Say a oil company backs a candidate A. That candidate then theoretically would have an interest in keeping that person, that corporation that's treated as a person, on their side. So they end up making policies not in the people's best interest, but in corporations' best interest.
All of these very powerful and wealthy special interests contribute huge amounts of money into the political process, making it harder and harder for the needs and significant needs of working families to be heard outside of the din and the power of big money.
We're trying to get people registered to vote. That's the main goal of today. So we're just having a big rally, big event, trying to get as many people excited as we can. This is about people here at the school being able to engage politically. So it's not, the UB Progressives are the ones running it, but it's not about, one side or the other. It's not about parties, it's anything like that. It's about people coming together and realizing that we have the power to make change by making our voices heard. That's why, no one counts a non-voter, right? I mean, if you're not voting, if you're staying out of the process, then the people who are voting are the ones who are making the decisions. So it's important to register to make sure that, your voice gets heard.
We have a candidate who is looking to change the system rather than just, try and work within the system. Our system is broken here. It's not working for everybody. We need to do something about it. And luckily we have a candidate who hears that and is speaking for the people.
All right, let's talk about why in the 1990s Wall Street got deregulated. Did it have anything to do with the fact that Wall Street spent billions of dollars on lobbying and campaign contributions? Well, some people might think, yeah, that had some influence. Let's ask why it is that we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, and your medicine can be doubled tomorrow, and there's nothing that the government can do to stop it. You think it has anything to do with the huge amounts of campaign contributions and lobbying? Let's talk about climate change. Do you think there is a reason why not one Republican has the guts to recognize that climate change is real and that we need to transform our energy system? Do you think it has anything to do with the Koch brothers and ExxonMobil pouring huge amounts of money into the political system? That is what goes on in America. I like.
A lot of politicians talk about having trickle-down economics. I'll be honest, we've been trying it since the 80s. It hasn't really shown much fruition in a way of giving jobs to normal Americans, simply giving more yachts to people that already have the money.
About 12,000 people RSVP'd through BernieSanders.com to get here today. The arena's not going to hold all of them. We're probably going to get some overflow. You know, some of our diehards will hang out, but we're hoping to get a whole bunch of volunteers out of this. People making phone calls, people canvassing, just helping out the campaign.
He stands for just the everyday American, which I don't know about you guys, but that's exactly who I am. I'm not a big Wall Street person. I don't have a ton of money that I can reach into my pocket for. So I feel like he represents everything that's important to me.
It's all about dedication and enthusiasm. And the other campaign camps, there's not a whole lot of it. But this is a much bigger deal. It's a much larger venue. You want to be guaranteed a spot because you care that much. I've seen young and old, I've seen the disabled, I've seen the colored. Everybody's here, and it's really good to see.
Energy, you can just feel it. It's so great. Like, there's people of all ages, races, any
breeds,
from all
colors.
over. Yeah.
It's awesome. I think it says a lot that he's the oldest white man running, and look at the people that are supporting him. He doesn't just talk to people who he relates to, he talks to everybody.
Buffalo, thank you so much. What this campaign is about is thinking outside of the box and raising issues that other politicians refuse to go near.
So what we're doing here is bigger than Bernie, and it's bigger than political parties, and it's bigger than special interest groups. It's about all of us.
There's a misunderstanding of what progress is. A lot of people feel that progress is inevitable or that it's just going to come and happen. But progress really is the work and the dedication and the sweat and the tears of a few dedicated individuals, of people that fight for change and fight for what they want to see. And progress won't happen without those people. For his whole campaign, Bernie Sanders has been kind of criticized for sticking to the same message. And his answer to that was that it's not about my election, it's about the message. It's about the movement towards progressive thought, and it's really about self-empowerment. If you see something broken, to first recognize that it's broken, to realize that I want to fight for a change, and to get up and fight for it day after day.
All across this country, people are sick and tired of establishment politics.
What has happened to the Democratic Party?
There is a political revolution underway in this country, and nobody seems to really want to acknowledge it.
And we've designed a system that is very good at avoiding changes to the status quo.
This isn't the end for us. This is the beginning for us. For people who care, for progressives, for people who are going to get to the right solutions and fight for everybody.